Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline, and today I'm going to talk about some changes in the famous story of Bruce Lee's death. Now, this one's been bugging me for a couple months, but now that a book is coming out, I feel like I finally need to just say something. The story of how Bruce Lee died has really changed for me. Okay, first of all, they're saying he collapsed while recording dialogue for his film Enter the Dragon. No, I don't remember him working at the time. He was taken to a Hong Kong hospital where doctors diagnosed him with cerebral edema. Now, that could be right, but I remember very clearly that they never really knew what killed him. The story I remember really clearly is that he was at him and his wife were at their home together, and he had gotten a headache, and she had given him an aspirin, an ordinary, plain old aspirin, which he had taken for his headache, and he went and laid in his bed, and later he was discovered dead. They never had an answer as to what killed him. And he was a very respectable person in my timeline who was very much into health and being very careful with his body, and kind of the old body is a temple kind of thing. That does not appear to be as much a case in the current timeline. So apparently they're saying that he was diagnosed with cerebral edema as the cause of death. I can't swear to that one. I'm also a little bit suspicious about him being in Hong Kong. I do remember really clearly him being with his wife at their home. I guess there's a chance that they had somehow moved to Hong Kong, and I don't remember that part, but I'm very suspicious about that part. I just can't say for sure on that one, though. This one is weird now. One factor in Lee's death was his decision to take a drug called Equagesic, which contained aspirin and a tranquilizer. Now, the story I've been reading is that this tranquilizer aspirin thing was provided by his mistress, and he was at the house of his mistress when he died. In my timeline, it was plain old aspirin, and it was given to him by his wife. Here, apparently, he had a mistress, he was a known philanderer, and he also did recreational drugs, which was not the case in my timeline. He was pretty squeaky clean in my timeline. So they're saying here that the death may have been overheating, intensified by a decision to have his sweat glands removed from his armpits because he felt his dripping pits looked bad on screen, which to me that's really weird. I've never heard of that. I guess it could have been something I didn't know, but he was very much into the health and nutrition kind of a deal, and not into, as much as he wanted to succeed. The old one I knew, I just don't think that he would have taken drugs and done these things. It just was not in the histories anywhere. Polly's book carefully unpacks the rumors and misinformation around Lee, which were fed by a decision to remove his body from the home of his mistress, Betty Ting Pei, to avoid upsetting his family. The story now is that he collapsed, and then they kind of tried to cover up that he died there at that scene at the mistress's house. But in my timeline, he most definitely died at his own home. Here he was rushed to the hospital, and they were trying to say he died at the hospital. But the cover-up never, and even in this timeline, includes attempting to make it sound like he died at his home. So I wonder if the cover-up is just something that you are being fed so that you will accept this new version. But for me, this version is all wrong. There's also an older ME that I barely heard mentioned, but this famous image of him, these scratches are constantly changing. I don't remember any going straight across the stomach, and I don't remember them being on both sides of the face. I think this one changes through the timeline, so it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. I was somewhat of a Bruce Lee fan, so I did kind of follow his career, and I feel like a lot of things have really changed, and he's just not the person that I respected at the time. Now he's somewhat of a disreputable kind of guy, which I find really sad. Anyway, this is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.